Goodtakes and Mistakes. Welcome to episode 4. It took me quite a while to get the film finished, but finally it's done and I'm glad that you're checking in on the channel. To bring you into the flight, first of all I want to share the weather with you on that day. As you can see, we had a wind field up to 50 kilometers in the west. We had a predicted wave conditions early in the day at the Pic de Buer wave and the Aspre Ridge, so we took off early on that day. We tried to get into the Pic de Buer wave, and the plan was use the altitude, jump out of the wind field, go to the east where lighter winds were predicted, and collect the kilometers in the east. So that was our plan, but actually things turned out differently. As you can see, we ended up in weak thermals, low cloud base in the Vercors. This is Chambéry, where we are at the moment. So what happened? Actually, as we were established in the Pic de Buer wave, I told my co-pilot Hannes that Thomas Pitot got up early in Grenoble. He checked into the wave layer, he crossed the Rhone Valley already, and now he's off to the Pyrenees. And the pioneer spirit or the love for adventure took over, and Hannes suggested, why not go to Grenoble and check out the situation there, maybe to get prepared for a flight in the future to cross the Rhone Valley. So this is what we did. We dropped out of the wave layer and we ended up in the Vercors in very poor conditions. And this is basically the story of the film. How can we return to our airfield? We had to deal with very low cloud bases. We had to deal with wind mostly parallel to the slopes we are flying along. We were flying into rising terrain, so things were not so easy. Sometimes we got scary low, but check it out for yourself. So after a while, I could get established on the or close to the cloud base, and that was the plan. Go close to the cloud base and fly close to the main ridge. It seemed easy to maintain the altitude there. The valley floor is about 1200 meters below, so the airfield of Grenoble is in 200 meters MSL. We fly actually at around 1400 meter MSL. We had to check out some power cables here in poor visibility. What we did was that the pilot flying, that was me at the moment, was always pointing out what he sees and what he is going to do to keep the pilot monitoring on the same page, to get support from him because he knows what the pilot is doing. And the idea was here to stay on the main ridge. The main ridge will be more on the left side because we could climb or we could establish or maintain the altitude there best possible. So I thought maybe I go a bit over to the left and stay at the main ridge. This is what I do now. So this is Uneasy part 1. You can tell it easy right away. The terrain is rising at the moment. The cloud base is low. In front of the ridge there's this little basin which is probably not so easy to land. You can't tell from here anyway. So the workspace is not very much and it looks not really comfortable here. So Hannes is pointing out that we have enough outlanding options here. I don't see so many outlanding options here actually, but we still, at the moment, we still have the possibility to change to the floor of the valley, which is about 1200 meters below us or about 1000 meters below us. We still are high and we could go down to the airfield of Grenoble. So I decided not to go to the main ridge. I stayed here on this little edge here, and Hannes is pointing out that where the red arrow was, that this is a possibility to change down to the lower valley floor if we can't find anything here. So there are outlanding options on the left side here. The problem is now that we are in between the clouds. On the left side there's the cloud on the ridge. We can't, I don't want to go there because I don't want to get trapped in this little basin on the left side. And there was this clouds on. There are these clouds on the right side, and we are just in between. And Hannes is pointing out we should probably jump over to the next ridge on the right side. This is important because this ridge is already rising a little bit. You can see it here, and we change over to the right side and we do it here. We still have a strong tailwind. You can tell it from the Hawk instrument on the right side in the panel. Now the wind is coming from the side, and things start to get more uneasy because we have not much altitude left here. So let's wind 2 minutes back. In a normal flight you can't do this. In the video we can do this, and let's have a look at the situation. And we stop the video here for a short moment. There were two options, and obviously the better option would have been to go straight ahead. I decided to go on the left side because we stayed on the main ridge. It makes no sense actually to think back. If you sit in the glider, it's just about the next decision, and this one has to be the best possible. So no second guessing. I want to clear that ridge. Then I have the option to go further. I have this exit to the lower valley, and the plan actually is to go onto the slopes on the left side where the wind is really on. I will show them in a few seconds to you. We are already now under these clouds, so there is possible to have some lift here. So I was just searching. The sink was not too bad, you know, the air was a bit active here. So here it's better anyway. Even if we are low at the moment, we have the chance to exit to the lower valley on the 1 o'clock position, so this option is still open. There was some active air, but it was just not enough, and we were really low here, and I really wanted to go onto that slope just on the 11 o'clock position at the moment. So I turn around, I turn to the left here. And Hannes is pointing out the wind at the moment. We have 35 kilometers of wind straight onto that slope here. The sun is in that slope as well, so this is the plan for us to go. I'm quite confident to get some lift in these upcoming slopes here. I had to make a couple of beats here just to find where the best climb rates are, and like always it's good to turn in a strong climb rate if you saw slopes like this. Even though we were still really low here, and at the bottom of those slopes usually the thermals are not that great. If you get higher in those slopes, the lift tends to get better, usually. So my co-pilot is relaxed here. That's a good sign, and that's good for me. I had to make a few more beats to climb to the top of the ridge, but eventually we got there. Here we are at the top of the ridge, and now the next step is open for us, and things look not too bad now. The altitude is still not very comfortable, but we have this cloud street ahead, and compared to what we have had before, it's actually comfortable now.
Hannes, nimmst du mal, ich muss schon mit schiffen.
Ja, dann fliegen wir ein bisschen.
Ja, das ist der jetzt langsam.
So I changed from pilot flying to pilot monitoring. Hannes is now flying, and he's really keen to go. He is fired up after the first uneasy experience, and yeah, we really want to find out if we can make it back home in these conditions. And at the moment we have enough workspace, we are established in a good altitude. I know that there are really tough parts to come, but for the moment things look good, and Hannes is pressing on. So the way was clear. We take this little cloud, and then we go into the slope where this big cloud is standing over there, and on the left side of that first cloud, this is actually the intended flight path to the next step. So I speed up here as well a little bit. We took 2 beats probably to get higher, so we are at the moment a little bit higher, and now we jump over to the other side here. We are approaching now the Écrin side. This is a national park of the Bar des Écrins. The left valley is the Valgau de Mar, and we will reach this slope low, but we expected a good climb rate under these clouds because the wind was really strong on that slope here. This was probably the best climb of the day, so that was quite nice to make a few beats here and be at the cloud base very soon. So we look back on the Pic de Buer side. You could still see the wave patterns on the Pic de Buer side, and we are on the Bar des Écrins side in these slopes just below the cloud base.
Da fliegt halt keiner.
And as we come around the corner here, there you see the problem. The wind is channeled through that valley and the slopes are all parallel to the wind, and from experience I know that it is gonna be very hard to find any lift here. If you cross, for example, from the Pic de Buer side to the Bar des Écrins side, if you cross this wide valley, you always want to make sure to arrive above these peaks on the left here or in front of us. And if you are lower, usually it's a hard time because these slopes here, they don't work very well, if they work at all. So I speeded the film up here a little bit. Hannes is flying really close to the slopes. He wants to milk out every meter here because we need every meter here. So the mountain in front of us is the Puy de Mansé. This is a little sheep hill directly in the wind. This is actually the only option we have here. There are good outlanding options, but we have to clear the Col de Bayard. This is this little ridge line here. This is a little col, and we were just hoping to get some lift at the little sheep hill in front of us, Puy de Mansé. This was actually uneasy part 2, the way to the Puy de Mansé. Things worked out, but actually we were quite low as we arrived there. You still see the Lenti clouds above in the east, above the Pic de Buer and the mountains in the east. So we saw a lot of gliders up there. We choose to fly a little bit lower today.
Was wir als nächstes ansteuern, weil wir nicht, sagen wir mal, sehr viel haben.
So Hannes brought us on top of the hill, and my idea was to go to that forest in front of us and try to find out if this little ridge is working in the wind like this little sheep mountain worked in the wind. So this was the next step for us. Before we go further into the south, we wanted to get some more meters, maybe here. So the idea was to connect into the higher terrain, maybe via this via this ridge here.
Entschuldige, ich bin an den Knüppel gestoßen.
Still uneasy part 2. So things didn't work out here. We tried everything. We tried every corner. There were no thermals there. There was not much wind here. It was pretty much dead air. We tried every corner and we were close to the outlanding again. Like in the last hour, we were quite often close to an outlanding. I changed back to pilot flying and tried these slopes here, and yeah, things didn't work out very well. Somehow these slopes were not in the wind. They were probably covered by that ridge or the mountains in front of us. So we had to go back to our sheep hill. This is our sheep hill, and we probably arrive even lower than at the first time. So I tried to find a line with not much sink. There's a little edge in the terrain where the forest is, where the trees are, and I fly along there to maintain as much altitude as possible. So we arrived probably at the same altitude as on the first attempt, 20 minutes before, and we just worked ourselves back up on that ridge to start the next step with as much altitude as possible. Hannes is pointing out the wind for me. This is always good.
Unser Berg wäre dann der Antennenberg da drüben, der geht auf.
So it was really calm there. It felt a little bit like a wave here. Obviously it was no wave, but we pretended it is maybe a wave. Or maybe it is a little wave. Maybe it is a wave.
Diese Welle hier aus.
Diese Bodenwelle. Diese Bodenwelle.
And so then we jumped further to the south. These are the foothills next to the airfield of Gap. And I was flying here, but actually I tried a few of these little foothills and it didn't work out. I had no idea what was going on here. And so Hannes asked me if he could try. And what happened here, there was still the wind field, but actually the wind field died out here. I was flying according to the blue arrows here, but actually the green arrows. We had a breeze coming in from the south, and Hannes sensed it somehow that things are changing here, and what can I say? He found the thermal of the day, the thermal that saved us and brought us back to the cloud base. Well done, actually. As pilot monitoring, I already had made contact to the airfield of Gap and to get them prepared if we need to come in low. You can see the airfield just in front of us, but it was not necessary and we could climb here up to the cloud base. So that was our flight actually. We went over to the Guillaume. We arrived at not such a great altitude at the Guillaume, but it was not a problem according to what we had before. And here at the end of the flight, just a few thoughts from our debriefing. What was good? What can you probably keep for your flights? We did fly together before, and that helped. And if you want to do serious flying in a double-seater, it's good to know each other. We established clear commands to hand over the glider. This is important in any cockpit, but especially in a glider. If you sit behind each other, you don't want to end up thinking the other one is flying the glider. The pilot flying talks loud about his ideas, what he is doing, and this is important because that keeps the pilot monitoring always on the same page, and you get much more support from the pilot monitoring. And we try to have a positive communication even when things got uneasy, and this helps a lot actually. There are probably more points to that, and maybe the bigger channels, maybe Late Night Soaring or Pure Glide, want to do something about flying in the double-seater cockpit. I think it's a good subject to talk about. So what can I say? Thank you very much for checking out the channel. Thank you, Hannes, for flying with me. It was a very special flight. I enjoyed every second. I hope to see you back on my channel, and I wish you a great time. Bye bye.